What's up, everybody? We're on YouTube, Instagram, a few other platforms, and guys that are live on Zoom. I'm Yogi Chris, Captain of IMC Nation, streaming to you here from Pegasus House. This is home base 1, IMC Nation in Las Vegas, where I live with AZD. And I'm bringing to you Liam from UK, who's been resident here for 2 weeks, living with AZD and going out with us and going to all the lectures and everything to pick his brain about his experience of residency. He's one of the furthest traveled to come here and live here, but there'll be many more like that. Gian, what's up, man? This will be great for you. So Liam's been here. We have humble livings. We live like monks, and that's something. There's a lot to convey when I'm talking to new guys about what's going on here and who is AZD. What they watch these clips or whatever on whatever platform, Instagram, etc. But they still don't really know what they're looking at, and they know it's like a charismatic guy with tattoos or whatever. And so bringing reality to these guys, it's a big pill to swallow. Like it's a lot to relay to the person that actually, so that we have some measure of like we're measuring the same thing. I mean, otherwise he's talking apples and I'm talking like Lamborghinis, and he's talking oranges and I'm talking fucking real estate. It's like not even the same thing at all. So when a guy can come, what's up, Gian? Salute. So when a guy can come from far away, gives a lot of perspective. He doesn't have to try. Just like him being there and his acknowledgments or lack of acknowledgments, his feedback, his communication, it starts echolocating a new reference to what we're experiencing. And the guys that live here or the guys that are around, the guys that have seen many individuals come do residency, go, they're really getting that the new person that comes in gives a fresh perspective, echolocates what we're doing, because we get caught in our own echo chamber. I live in an echo chamber of IMC Nation. No doubt. I made it that way. I know what I'm doing. I was communicating with so many people outside of IMC Nation, first in academia. That's when I met AZD or discovered him and then started studying from him and then did meet him in person. I was still doing a PhD in university. So I'd go back to university and it was like the people I'm interacting with are, man, what am I doing? I didn't know at the time. I didn't have the language, but it was just like I started to see there's a big difference between talking with AZD and talking with all the other people. IMC Nation was not as organized as it is now. So although I had met some other guys in IMC at a couple of, quote, camps or whatever, there were no bases. There were not regular monthly camps. It was not a community. There was a handful of IMC guys that I had met. And definitely the communication was different. Later, I start prospecting for my yoga business, calling thousands of yoga studios, talking with yoga clients, teaching classes or whatever. And I'm prospecting for the yoga. And there was such a difference between talking IMC with guys and talking yoga with guys. I start organizing events for AZD. And now I'm really talking with guys that I'd never met before, but they're IMC. They've been watching AZD from wherever they are in the world. And I start messaging them. Who's this guy, Yogi Chris, messaging me? And I start dialogue with them. And immediately, it's so obvious the communication with guys in IMC Nation versus yoga business. I'm all about my yoga. Like, it's not like I'm compromising myself to do the yoga business, but the people there, they don't have any reality on the depth of social dynamics I've witnessed and experienced. They're super caught in the matrix, just not having a reference for a guy that has mastered the social matrix. And so my communications with IMC guys were so much more real to me, and I could talk more freely. I didn't have to be accepted by it would be too disturbing. And plus, I'd be talking about someone else's experience, not my own. If it was my experience, it'd be different. But I was witnessing something that was far ahead of my evolution, but I was evolved enough to witness what I was seeing and experience it. But I was not able to reproduce it. So when I would report on it, it came across like heavy admiration of this other person dealing with women, but I wasn't that guy. And it was just, it created all these situations in yoga versus with IMC guys. We all understood. We're all observing a top player. Let's talk about it. I'm into the game. I'm liking the game. We never thought of ourselves as good as AZD at it, but like we could talk about that experience. And the value of that communication line was so much more valuable than the yoga line that I just migrated more towards that. I literally had notebooks where I would write about this because I wasn't this way. It's been years of development. Like, you don't know me 5 years ago, and it would amaze you. And my own understandings, and it was literally what I was going through at the time was IMC communications are much more fulfilling than yoga communications. And this is what I'm like thinking about. I'm being torn. There was nobody ahead of me. I didn't have a Yogi Chris ahead of me. So I'm ahead of you guys telling you this. There was nobody ahead of me telling me this. There was AZD saying his shit, but he's coming to conclusions that are lifetimes more evolved than where I'm at the time. He's like 600 years ahead of me. I'm. It makes sense, but I don't know all the dots that connect the way there. I got to figure those out. He knows that, but he doesn't have time to slow down and spell out all the dots for everybody. He's got to report on what he's doing. That's part of the benefit of me coming around. I took a lot of load off of him so he could just report on seduction and game and everything. And I do the business shit and hit people up for money. He doesn't have to hit people up for money. He just shows up and teaches. And so that me entering the picture at the level I did creates an energy dynamic, an engine, and then other guys have come on board, whatever. So why am I saying that? Valuing the communication line. Something that I was just saying. Liam's here for giving a fresh perspective, because I get caught in an echo chamber where I am. So I built IMC Nation around me as I'm doing yoga business. COVID happens. I pivot all IMC. Now I just really pour on I crank up the energy output into the IMC communication lines because I had all these yoga lines also that were occupying my time, but COVID shut it down. I think I'll let that grow on its own for like a few months, like let the garden overgrow, and I'm just going to work on this thing. And then I just let the garden go. But I didn't know what was happening at the time of COVID. I didn't know how long it would be, what it was, whatever. So I just kind of let the yoga lines go and just poured on my energy with the IMC lines. Within 4 or 5 months, I'm living in San Jose and the base has coalesced around me. Now I'm in the heart of something. I'm interacting with AZD in person every day. I'm around these guys, Sultan, Fernando, and Demigod all the time. We're hosting camps every month. And now it's a new thing. Now I'm in practically an echo chamber of IMC. My girl is flying in from Colorado at the time, and she's, I still had to go some grocery shopping and shit for myself. But like, I'm telling you, like now I don't. So it's like very little interacting with people outside of IMC. Now 35 guys have moved to Vegas, and like I'm always interacting with IMC guys or new IMC guys or AZD, and then, girls when we go to the venues. And so we get lost in the ecosystem we've created for ourselves. Someone like Liam comes from the outside and offers not only your perspective of what this has been like, and we see a reflection that we had lost because we've been in it so much, swimming with the current, not realizing how fast or how the current is moving. And then this guy comes in from the outside. It's like, whoa, your current is, going this way. Like, oh, you're right. I forgot that's how our current is. I just kind of got used to the current being like that around here. And then also, Liam has a perspective of just really discovering AZD less than a year ago. And then just going through the whole process that everybody's going through. They discover him on social media, watch some stuff, eventually talk to somebody, sign up for something, like it, buy something else, leads to him coming here, living here for 2 weeks. And then whatever this leads to right after this. Like he goes back to UK tomorrow with plans maybe to return, bring order to his wife.
No, maybe.
Oh, no, maybe. Not mean I kind of possibly I'd like to kind of language, but definitely he's coming back. So you heard it here first. I remember when Armando Vargas was on and he was coming back also. But, I can always throw it in his face if I wanted to. So here's the recording. I roped Liam into being on the shoot. No. He's going to go back. He's going to, switch around his business and get his ducks in line and handle his rent and his roommate and his girl and all the things so that he can come back more amicably and really set up shop here. It's not a small thing to move across the world really into another country to set up shop with, a bunch of people you met that aren't even from your culture. Like, sheesh, So Liam could possibly be, maybe, the first one of those. There's lots of guys that have visited from abroad, but the first one to move here and set up shop in this new era of IMC Nation where we've all based up in Las Vegas. That's a thing. Man, that is, wow. So here's Liam. First impressions or lasting impressions, whatever's top of mind. Thanks for joining. And we only have about 15 more minutes. So I really give you the mic and, whatever you would say about your experience, surprises, the most astounding things. I'm sure you could tell stories after stories like you would with TK. He offered you to stream with him later. But really the things that people got to know. Liam.
Yeah. You said something that stuck out when you were talking there was when you said the echo chamber. That word came out a few times. What I'd like to transform about that phrase would be to call it an amplification chamber. It's this place, this building that we're in, all these bases. It's just like you ever see those views from a city from above, and it looks like a circuit board, electric city, or whatever. It looks just like that, a circuit board. And this house that we're in, like you were telling me this morning, you don't really appreciate the vibe here until you go away again.
Oh,
And
you're going to know. Oh, you're going to find out. Hey, Chip, he's going to find out. As soon as he leaves Vegas, airport, interact with some waitresses, stewardesses, next airport, next airplane, get your baggage. England, colder, the people, pale.
Train guards.
Okay, he gets to where he's going. And IMC, okay, set up shop. Okay, back to where I was. Laptop here, type it up, meetings, talk with the girl. Okay, parents, this and that. Okay, a day later, 2 days later, a week later, a month later, responsibilities, shit happens, Christmas holidays. Okay, back to America. Cool, it could happen. I could see it working. I could see it happening. I could also see you getting lost in what's that Kanye West song? Na 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 na. I'm lost in the world. I'm down on my mind.
You know what song? You know what song? I
Yeah.
imagine myself going to AZD, and we played that song. I'm blue, dubba dee dubba, and the
Oh yeah, that's gonna hit you heavy when you get to. Oh man, as soon as you get back into the first fight you get with your girl, and you're gonna be like, "I'm blue, da ba dee da ba da." You're like wanting to
in
be
the
at
shower.
fucking NC Vegas. Oh man, and then hopefully you just peel off the layer and you come out a vampire, and you're just like, "Fuck it," and you sell everything overnight, bottom dollar, buy a ticket here one way, and fucking, and you're back in like 8 days. It's like the most unpredictable outcome. You're back in like 9 days. It's like neither plan, this plan or that plan. It's
Get home.
anything can happen. I don't know. I just know what
Yeah.
history, the patterns tell me, but you know,
Right.
breaking the pattern. Okay, Chip Richards there, unmuting involuntarily. Facts. Facts. We
Oh,
gotta
it's
have a Chip
volunteer.
Richards.
It's volunteer.
Oh, okay, all right.
You know,
I'll hand it back. Oh, Chip, if you got something for a second, go ahead, and then I'll hand it back to Liam. Kind of jumped in.
Nah, go ahead. Go ahead. You just hitting the head on the nail. You hitting nail on the head. Every single time, bro. Everything follows the same patterns over and over and over. Everything repeats. So you hitting the nail right on the head, brother.
Yes, sir. True that. And Liam, also for the patterns, like I said, you're the first resident from England since we moved to Vegas. We had one other guy from England in San Jose, and it was just a different situation, different draw. So, there isn't a pattern necessarily for abroad, that guy. So I understand that's more difficult. The closest thing would be the guys from Canada, and that's the pattern. The pattern, they go back and they're not going to come back. But he might come back. So you could lay a whole new pattern just for you. Anyway, I don't want to take away from that about future plans. Back to the experience.
experience. Yeah, like when Chip
Amplification
arrived,
chamber, electricity.
amplification chamber, and it's that vibration, that vibe. Like I sort of imagine like video games or like Assassin's Creed when you're walking around and you can merge with a group and it goes like into this blob and this computer generated shroud goes over you. It's like that here. And like when we're in the club, when we're sitting around, but it's more like a bright, twinkly lights, like galaxies, sort of Milky Way kind of stars and things like that, vortexing around us. And then you're getting all these the women, the strippers, everybody else coming into the vibe. Uh, that's the level of vibration. And then when you're here in this space, that's what I'm feeling. It's almost like you're in this bubble where everything's like if you've ever been around something I was trying to tell my girlfriend what it's like. And if you've ever been around some family relative who's just really not very nice to you at all, doesn't respect you at all, treats you like crap, and you'll be sitting in the same room as them, and it'll be oppressive. That word, oppressive, suppressive, those things, those words, when I'm looking back at my life, what I left to come here just for the trip, now I'm looking back and I'm going, oh, I can see all the muffling.
You're going to know. Oh, you're going to find out. That's what Tom Belton, that's why he's having so much trouble. Tom Belton is absolutely in a suppressive environment. I absolutely know this. When you guys roller coaster with your emotions, there is an outside influence on you because that's insane as a guy. And when you have like deep, strong desires, that's what happens. Like the last guy, I already named him. I'm not going to name him again. That was Resident. The example I gave at the beginning, I was like, that guy, when he was also on stream, saying that, he's coming right back or whatever. That's a big roller coaster. That's a guy that's hella dedicated to IMC and then all of a sudden is making exit plans. And then hella dedicated for IMC and then making exit plans. And it's just like, whoa, dude, I know you're not crazy like that. I lived with you for 2 weeks. You got a lot better. He got, man, he was a totally different person day after day. Just same thing with Tony Souza. Tony Souza is crazy. But when he got here, he purged that for like 2-3 days, and then he was getting better. He was like a whole new guy. And then AZD was like, you can live at base too. And then he was going to, and then he went back with guaranteed plans. I'm going to come back, whatever. No. Now he's out, dropped out because of the environment, parents and other people, suppressive, oppressive, invalidative, fucking muffling, fucking shitting, and just ruining your life basically.
Yeah. And that's something so what I was trying to describe it is like, imagine you're in a room with that relative and they're just dumping on you. And even if they're not saying anything, they'll just be sitting there, but you feel this this pressure. And then you go from that room into a room with somebody who treats you really, really well, who respects you, loves you, wants what's best for you. And just the atmosphere in the two rooms. One is like in a fucking dungeon in like Black Death era, I don't know, Germany somewhere, like some underground dungeon where you're just chained up. And then this one over here is like you're on a beach party in the Bahamas with your best mate.
100. It reminds me of music. It's like if you're playing with a bunch of instruments that are out of tune and they insist on staying out of tune and out of rhythm. And so you're trying to play the song and they're fucking it up every which way. Like no note is right. And then you go into a room where everybody tunes up with you right away. And then they all check the rhythm. And then pretty soon you're jamming. And it's a completely different experience, man. Within fucking 5 seconds, you're deeper into music than you were for 5 years in that other room because everybody was intentionally going against your tuning.
And that spectrum, then if you imagine a spectrum, like a slider, like this is 0 and this is 100, the oppressive room, the supportive one, the one that's amplifying, the amplification. And then if you move on that slider, and then if that slider just kept going past 100 to 200, 300, 1000, and it just keeps going, IMC's somewhere way fucking over there. That's way true. Over there.
This is Liam's, new guys that are hopping on, this is Liam's experience from UK. He's been living here for 2 weeks, 13 days. He leaves tomorrow. And it's from 0 to infinity. I mean, it's affinity. It's our closeness. It's our reality with each other. It's not like a 1 to 10. It's a 0 to infinity. And we have no reality with each other, no affinity with each other, no good communication with each other. Or it could go to infinity, and we have and when we have communication, which is like our ability to transfer ideas, a particle of idea. I have an idea, I share it with you, you receive it, you understand, and maybe you have another idea, and you send it to me, and I receive it and get it, and we're communicating. Reality, we have agreement. That's where IMC guys, like I'm talking with Ed Cardenas from Canada earlier. He may be here in a few months. He's just a guy on the path, in his unique context. And it's like I tell him, I'm like, when you get here, you're going to immediately feel closer with us than with your wife. Because you've been studying the philosophy that are so close to your soul as a man that when you meet a bunch of other guys that are studying the same philosophies, we're actually a lot closer than the people that raised you already. Now, you have a lot of agreements with them also, but those agreements is reality. So we have communication. We practice communication. We could transfer up particles, ideas. We have reality with each other. We have tons of agreement about some of the most important things that we could agree upon. And then affinity. We like each other. We tune to each other. Affinity. And when we have affinity, reality, and communication, we have understanding. So we understand each other. And when you find on this piss hole of a fucking planet a bunch of guys that understand you, you understand them. That and you're floating through time and space, however many years you've been alive, nobody understanding you. And you not understanding it. It's like you've been breathing in, you know, fart air when people fart and it's like it's in the air and you're breathing it in. All your life, every breath is fart air. Every single breath. Every single goddamn breath. Until one day you step out into a fucking, oh, this is what fresh air is. I didn't even know. I didn't even know. And then you're about to go back into the fart air. You know what I'm saying? And it's 1,000 analogies because it's true, right? I forgot why I was saying all that. Anyway, yeah, there we go.
The difference, what it's like being around the guys, having an understanding.
Yeah, the understanding, yeah, the closeness, and yeah. Whatever you're saying reminded me of my call with Ed earlier, and yeah. Something
I wanted to add to that. Oh, somebody's here. Sorry, 1 second. What we were saying, the amplification. It was there, and then it just ran away. Just ran away from me there for a second. I mean, one thing I was thinking.
How do you feel like you're different? Going back to UK, what do you think is going to be noticed about you that's different, or how do you notice yourself differently?
Oh, I mean, that's a good question. That's interesting. My girlfriend, when I was on the phone to her, she said, you know, you do seem different because we were talking about what's it going to be like when I'm around. Are you going to feel the difference? And I said, I think you will. I think you'll smell something. You'll sense something. And I'm like, I mean, do you get anything just from the call now when we're talking? She goes, you know, something, you're not as reactive. You're very non-reactive. And I get the feeling that there's no judgment. You know, we had some difficult conversations while I was here, and we're having these conflicts.
It's submission. It's not no judgment. She's judged you to be higher value, and so she's submitted, and she's following. And so you're feeling no judgment, but really it's respect. And that's the thing. So you'll go back and be less reactive. And so the world, especially her, will react much more favorably in your perspective, in your opinion. And then as the suppression starts to encroach on you, you may become reactive. And you may break character at some point, overreacting to something that you wouldn't if you were around us, because you've been breathing in the farty air and it's agitated you. And so you have less space inside. But here we've created an island of sanity, 5 houses, and then as a community of houses, we're connected. So it's like Vegas, we have a space here where we can maneuver with freedom of thought and communication. And so our consciousness is freed from all the suppressive socialism of the world. And that's, you know, that's what you'll encounter when you go back out there. That's what Chip is experiencing. He just came from the socialism of the world, and now he's here in Vegas at Pegasus, and he's basically tongue-tied. He can't even report in during class because he doesn't have the language or the practice of expressing the sense of freedom that he's feeling and experiencing. And because he just comes from a world of that's what the world is, even in America. It's just a world of socialism, feminism, anti-survival bullshit. Like there's Obed, he's got the LRH picture is his background picture. And that guy is the exact opposite of socialism. It's individual, but not a selfishness. It's just a recognition that I come first. Before I can do anybody any good, I come first. And then I can do everybody every good once I'm fully taken care of. And it's just, I can't paraphrase his whole philosophy, but it's definitely the opposite of what is it? Whatever the wording of sacrificing yourself for the greater good, like for the greater good, that whole ideology of for the greater good, for the greater good, for the greater good, would be the opposite of LRH's philosophy. Would be
that's the lie, isn't it? It's not for the greater good. It's just
that's the thing. It's just like you go to CVS pharmacy and they're like, you want to donate $1 to kids, whatever, and it's like, how do I know that's where the dollar's going? I know that's what you're saying, but you're not physically collecting my dollar. Some machine is that goes somewhere that I'm supposed to trust that it's going to what it says. They just slap a picture of a hungry kid on it and it really just goes to some other fund. And that's, you know, there's enough documentaries that shit happens more often than not. And it's like, I get the sentiment. I want to help all the starving kids also, but like you're just playing on my goodness to take advantage of me. No. And so the greater good makes sense. Yeah, I want the greater to be good. Of course. But why take away from me to do that? Do it yourself. You're spending all that energy to collect my energy. Why not just donate your energy and stop trying to fund campaigns to collect my energy? You know, okay, you got to get the message out. Well, how about word of mouth? How about you just spread word of mouth like IMC? Like, if you do good, then tell your neighbor. And if your neighbor thinks it's a good idea, he'll do good and he'll tell someone, and then he'll tell someone, and he'll tell someone. And pretty soon the idea infects the world, like Gandhi or something. But you got to have all kinds of campaigns to advertise and somehow collect my money for your greater good. No, I don't think that's what it is. That's some bullshit. And that's, you know, that is so deeply entrenched in human psychology. That's where guys can't be alpha because they can't have dominant relationships. They can't own their woman because the state, the government owns the woman. The woman is owned by the state, guys. And so are you, but you're fighting for your autonomy and sovereignty as a man with your consciousness. Great. So I get it. You could go the route of trying to like unplug from the government matrix. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that she is owned by the state because she depends on all the masculinity from the state, who build the roads, who police the fucking roads, who run the hospitals, who, you know, just manage the whole government, who everything, protect the national borders, do all the most difficult jobs of construction and everything. Like, she depends on, and then that is so heavily subsidized and funded by the state. All of those things I just said, medicine, and like that is essentially socialism is providing the survival value for her, that she no longer depends on the man. She depends on the man, not her man, the man. And so the state has owned the woman, you know, and that's what you're going against, is socialism so deeply in her that, you know, the journey to possessing a woman and really owning and loving her, like she's your woman, taking responsibility, full responsibility for her, is a much taller task than is easily acknowledged and measured. To get good at game and to have a fulfilling relationship with a woman is a much bigger mountain than people are measuring. And, you know, the reward, it's like I said, what's the reward of breathing that fresh air instead of that farty air? Some people will just, the work to get out of the farty air cavern and get out to the fresh air is not worth it for them. For whatever reasons, a lot of times that just has to do with crimes that they have done. And because when they've done crimes, they don't feel worthy of the reward. And so they'll come up with 1,000 excuses besides their confession as to why they don't want that outcome. But really, it's all masking a confession that they don't want to confess to. Because if they confess to that, they would free up, and then all of a sudden they would make the same decision you did, is let's go to the promised land. Let's go to the promised land. But no, it's less painful at first to confess. And so I'll hold that confession and I'll make 1,000 excuses why I don't want to go to the promised land, instead of the confession that I did something wrong that makes me I don't think I deserve it. And so they won't go for this goodness. And that's why people drop out of IMC or don't get involved in IMC. Once they see the truth of how successful we are with women in life and our freedom of expression, there's no reason not to get involved, except, you know, they've done some fucked up shit that they as a being don't want the power to influence others, because they internally know that they have fucked up ethics and they'll influence people to be bad. And that's literally why. Or they haven't gotten it. They don't get that this is real and this is what we're doing. That's why I got to keep reporting in, bringing in testimonies, talking about it in ways that are so compelling that there's just no denying it. Testimony after testimony, evidence, you know, and we just keep going. And it is growing. If you plotted it, it's growing quite nicely. You know, it's just what it is. Man, I am long-winded. Sorry about that, Liam. If you have any final points on how you have changed or how you've noticed yourself change, you're less reactive. And yeah, anything that spins off of that for you.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say, when Chip arrived the other night, and he came in And as soon as he comes up the stairs, I'm looking at you, Chip, and I'm thinking, wow, what a beast. What a beast. And he comes in and sits down. And then he said, you know, coming in here, it feels like I'm coming into a lion's den. And I was like, whoa, like, it's so funny because that's how I felt when I came here. And I said that every individual, it was like a monster when they're coming up to me and I say hello. Like no matter how big or small the guys are, like I could be speaking to one of the smallest members of IMC, and I feel like there's this extremely powerful creature, the beast, in front of me. And then as soon as he starts talking, it's total respect, total attentiveness, and amiability in a way that is, I'm using silly words now, but like convivial. This lightness, and that's what the vibe is like here, and that's what's coming out of every individual, because every individual is maintaining that vibration and amplifying it, putting their own inflection on it. And then when Chip arrived and we go out and I'm seeing everything through his eyes, which were my eyes a couple of weeks ago. Everything he was seeing and experiencing and being amazed by when he's seeing AZD just perform whatever he performs in the club. These just ridiculous, like literally like some video game. Like you just go over to this spot, press triangle, do some game interaction, new girlfriend. Go over to this spot, do another interaction here, and later on, they're coming over again. The staff, the way they treat him, it's just like he's walking around doing everything magically. But now, over the 2 weeks, I've started to see more of the language that's occurring, more of the things that were hidden to me before.
Exactly. It's real. Like, this is science. This isn't random. This isn't throwing the dice. This isn't getting lucky. This isn't some marketing gimmick. It's real cause and effect, social dynamics, and all of the inner game necessary to navigate the inner landscape, because the landscape outside, the social dynamics that happen, will trigger all kinds of fucked upness in us, because this is a planet that has created a lot of fucked upness in people. And so there's a process, like I'm telling Tom, there's a beast process to overcome. Then there's game. You learn the social dynamics. The more of the game that you can learn when you're remote, like the dating seminars, the infield. I'm getting a lot of messages. I'm going to have to go in a second. The more of the game that you can see before you arrive, the more you'll recognize when you're here. You'll see it. And if you're already here and you haven't had that much of the game of his teachings and whatever, then so be it. Whatever. It's still great to be here. But that's what it is. Yes, sir. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, and another thing is time. We talk about quantum time, quantum speed, and things like that. And the first 3 days to me felt like 2 weeks. And now I'm sitting here and it feels like it's been 6 months.
Oh, seriously.
And that was before I came here. It's actually really frightening to think about how much time was being pissed away when I'm at home, and the level of productivity, the level of activity,
100%,
the communications, the relationships I'm having, the growth I'm going through in the last maybe 3 years would be just a small fraction of what I've gone through in the last couple of weeks here.
Wonderful.
And that is that's that quantum speed. Like now this feels like normal. It's normal pace now. On day 3, I was like, holy, I'm checking my phone, checking the date, the days. It's like Sunday or it's Monday or whatever. I'm like, and it's only been like 3 days.
Yeah.
It's only been 3. And I'm looking at the time. I'm like, it's been less. It's been like not even 72 hours.
Yeah, that's great. That's exactly what it is, man. Yeah, the evolution is real, and it's hard to measure. It's easiest to measure in lifetimes or hundreds of years, the longer that you're part of it. So Liam in 2 weeks experienced 6 months. So if I've been living with AZD for 4 years, and we're talking 6 months, that's 25 weeks, let's say 26 weeks. So 2 weeks, 26 weeks, that's 13 times. Let's just say 10 times as much. So if I've been living with him for 4 years, it's like I've evolved 40 years. And really, it's more than that, because it just is. It's more than that.
Exponential.
Yeah, I mean, it's something. These things stack on each other, and probably you've evolved more than 6 months. It may feel like that, but I think you're a little disoriented. I think it's more like 6 years. If you were just staying at a distance, but training all of the trainings that we were putting out, you were doing it, and you did everything you could. No, it's hard to measure, man. It's hard because really that's not a fair comparison. It would be better if we just said if you were not doing IMC stuff, versus if you were here for 2 weeks. And then when you look at it, I don't think you'd ever evolve this much. The 2 weeks you've been here, you can live a whole lifetime and be as righteous as possible. And man, that would be tough. You might be able to reach 2 weeks of evolution, in a full lifetime with all the other resources on Earth available. Because Manu's not around anymore. You're not going to go through the martial arts. Like, the best you'll do is a little bit of Scientology, the pickup arts, and maybe some of the hypnotherapy and whatever. And then how far are you going to take all of that, given the suppressive environment where you're brought up, and whatever other subjects I guess you could get into. That's a whole quantum universe, but you're here now, you're doing this, and you'll go back and you'll really measure it. In contrast, you'll see how you're going at 700 miles an hour and everybody else is still going at tricycle speed, and you're going to have to slow down and then you start to forget maybe what it's like to go fast, but hopefully you always have the memory, and you have this video, it's streamed, and you'll see it, and you can watch it again and remember. I could talk with you forever, man. It would be fun. And maybe even when you get back to England, although we'll see the difference. But maybe we could do more streams. Of course, always hop on streams, man. You're a brother. I hope you make it back very soon. I think it's possible. And if it's possible, I think you will. And that'll be great. Yeah. And we'll all look forward to it for sure. So another night out tonight. So we're going to celebrate when the bitches are like, what are you guys celebrating? Man, my buddy's about to go back to war. He just came here on leave, and he's got to go back to trenches.
Going back to the trenches.
Yeah, he's going back to the trenches, man. He's going back to the front lines for fucking 3-4 months before he finally can retire. Right, TK? Retire in Vegas. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Liam. I'll see you on the next stream.
Thank you.